right, so next up we have Ross Victory. Ross is an author, singer-songwriter, and travel enthusiast. He spent his early years collecting pens, notepads, and interviewing himself in a tape recorder. With an acute awareness for his young age, Ross was eager to point out hypocrisies and character inconsistencies in children and adults through English assignments. Today, he is here to present his father-son memoir, Views from the Cockpit, The Journey of a Son. And with that said, please join me in welcoming Ross.
Good evening, everyone. So my name is Ross Victory. I am the author of Views from the Cockpit. And I want to start with the question of, do you feel like you are the captain of your life, or do you feel like you're the passenger in someone else's dream? And when I was 7 years old, my dad would take me out to LAX to watch airplanes take off and land. And as a 7-year-old, you're just like, wow, there's something magical that ignites the imagination. Where is this plane coming from? Where are they going? And who is the person flying this huge machine? And so it wasn't until his loss, under the circumstances of elder abuse, fraud, and divorce, and all of these circumstances, that I faced the question of, am I the captain of my life, or am I the passenger in someone else's dream? And by dream, I mean his dream. And so I've written this book as a personal reflection, and to honor my dad, whose memory I hold deeply, but also to really look at this phrase, what doesn't kill you make you stronger. We hear people say that a lot, but what does that look like in terms of an airplane metaphor and analogy? And I think that it's a valuable way and a clear way to look at our journeys like that. And if you're like me, some days you are, making waves in your life. You're hitting your marks, you're getting good feedback from the universe. Maybe the next day you have a $5,000 car repair, or you're facing some adversity, and these things pop up in our life. And just like a plane, we hit some turbulence. This book took 2 years to write, and I think that that's kind of quick, but I think that this is a direct result of the grief and the shock that I personally experienced, and I channeled into a book project. So I was already creatively inclined, but sometimes, things happen in our life that push us into unknown territory. And for me, as much as a personal expression, this was my unknown territory. And last year, I thought it was going to be a big year for my personal development. You hear a lot of people talking about take a step in courage, take a step, fear in the unknown. It's like, okay, I'm going to assert myself as an author. I'm going to, take risks. I'm going to come to bookstores and speak. And at the end of last year, I was tested again with the message of this book. And my job of 4 years, right before Christmas, decided to eliminate my position. And so in the same year, I was like, wow, after I took this big leap of courage and faith and wrote this book, here I am faced with a job loss. But then I remembered, wait a second, if we're talking about flying planes, every storm that you go through informs your ability to conquer the next storm, right? So you have to approach it with a sense of calm, resolve, and ability to trust your wings. And so that's what I think the lesson is of this book, and it's still teaching me today as I deal with that job loss. And when you think about flight, it's an unusual experience. We look at it and we say, okay, we're aware of how it works, but do we really understand? And I think that really draws a parallel to our life. I mean, maybe you remember Captain Sully in New York, who landed the plane on the Hudson River. And so that makes me think, even when your engines are blown out, so even when you talk about turbulence and recovery and stuff, but even when your engines are blown out, even when you face, odds that are just out of control, not only did Captain Sully land on the water, which we all know, but he saved every passenger, every crew member, and he saved himself. So it's one thing to think about our ability, our courage, and our talent, but also that makes me think about just a sense of responsibility, because there will be times where we get knocked out of the sky of our lives and we hit the river and the ocean. What do we do next? And so it's ultimately our responsibility. And so I wrote this, as a token of love to my dad, who's resting in peace, but also to teach myself and everyone who's been touched by the message of this book, how to just really take ownership of your flight, take ownership of your wings. And I want to encourage everyone here today, before we open up for questions, that no matter the weather, we are born to fly. And I think that every experience that we go through informs the next one. We want to see the curvature of the earth of our life, but we have to go from our origin all the way up, right? And that's not going to come easy. And I think origin and journey and destination are things that we all think about. And as we saw in Captain Sully's case, it's ultimately our responsibility to live our best life and savor the view from the cockpit. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. My name is Ross Victory, Ross Victory Official on Instagram if you're an Instagrammer, and Facebook, and also you can check out my website. But did anyone have any questions? That's a great question. I don't know if you could hear in the back. She said, has the loss of the job, sometimes bad things happen that can cause other positive things. And honestly, so I lost the job over a month ago, and I do wake up lighter, happier. Sometimes I wake up laughing. I wake up laughing, and I sleep great. And you're absolutely right. I feel energetically free to focus more on my creative projects. And we get caught up in the 9 to 5 and the money and your rent and stuff. But I think I should have been focused on my internal creative spirit long before I even did this book. Thank you, everybody.